the broad message in the market is that units and apartments are trash. They're falling down, the construction's dodgy, the CBDs are empty. Like they have I don't think there is a more hated property asset in Australia than Melbourne apartments right now, CBD apartments. Like they definitely are being, I don't know if it's unfairly, maybe it is fairly. But what I would like to know, Goose, is do you believe that units and apartments will ever have their day again? Are they even worth considering at some point?
Yes.
Interesting. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I can. Of course, I can expand on that. So the thing is, look, we talk about this all the time, right? So our general thesis for clients that we work with is that we buy houses, right? Detached, standalone houses, not apartments, not townhouses, etc. Right? Because generally speaking, all things being equal, houses will grow more than townhouses or apartments or units. Now, we also buy duplexes, which is 2 units stuck together. Okay, so we kind of actually are buying units as well. We also buy apartment blocks, 3 packs, 4 packs. The thing is, we are kind of buying units anyway. But the general thesis is houses will outperform apartments or units. So for the simplicity of the discussion, we'll call them units, right? And we'll use that as a broad categorization of all of those. Basically, anything that's submitted that is part of a strata plan or anything like that. Okay, simple. Now, if you look at the maths, generally speaking, houses will outperform units. That's just the facts of the growth, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. However, like I said earlier, about the people who have a dogmatic approach to property strategy or whatever, that can be generally true, but it's not absolutely true, right? So there are plenty of markets that exist where units are outperforming houses pretty much all the time. Like pretty much, not that they're outperforming all the time, sorry, but at all times, there is probably at least some locations in Australia where units are outperforming houses, right? And there's a variety of different reasons for that. It could be lifestyle, it could be affordability, all of this kind of stuff. Generally speaking, as our population changes, there is a propensity for people to want to live in apartments, partly because of affordability, but also we have what we call the loner effect, right? Because traditionally people would young people would grow up, they'd live at home, they'd stay living at home until they found their life partner, then they'd move in with their life partner and then they'd start a family. So they basically so they get married and then they move into like the family home and start a family. That was kind of the more traditional model. So you had family units staying as a family unit until that family unit went and created another family unit. And so the demand was consistently for houses because it was a family home to another family home. Now, as the way that we live has changed and more people are staying single for longer, so they're moving out and doing all that kind of stuff, the demand for space is not the same as it was, right? Which is good because we just couldn't sustain that level of housing growth anyway, which is why there is, broadly speaking, a greater trend to apartments and more condensed living and all of that kind of stuff, because you also get the affordability or that kind of level of efficiency as well. Now, the problem comes with supply. So if you look at places like Brisbane and Melbourne, where there's been oversupply issues, that's a problem, right? So that's where it can have a negative effect if there are. And, with apartments, the sky is the limit, right? Quite literally. So that's where the problem comes into it. Now, there are other markets, though, where the supply is constrained, either through deliberate council planning or through, for a variety of different reasons. And so apartments can outperform houses. And I know that I'm pulling a lot onto the table here, but I want to try and get it all out and then we can dissect it. The other thing to consider in the context of what I was talking about earlier, modern portfolio theory, is about the efficient frontier, okay? Now, you can find often that apartments or units may produce higher yields, and in many cases, higher net yields, even after strata fees and all of that kind of stuff. So depending on where your portfolio is at, you may actually reach a frontier where adding apartments or units into your portfolio makes sense from a cash flow perspective, right? So to give that some color, let's say that you have built up a portfolio, you've got tons of equity and you've kind of like you've built that base, you've got the base. All right, I've got the base, it's growing, I'm happy. If I do nothing, I'm good. Like that's when you've got the base. It's when you can hit save and say, if I do nothing from here on out, life's sweet. That's the way I see it. If you get to that point and then you go, you know what? I just want to like pump it all. I'm going to start buying like cheapy apartments all over the place that are like 8, 9, 10% yield, all that kind of stuff. Then that can make sense too. And so, again, generally speaking, we tend to prefer to go towards houses, but that doesn't mean that apartments don't have a place in a portfolio. And also, apartments and units can outperform houses depending on the market conditions.